Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan, and here basically we are discussing about the formula topic, that is basically 182 number topic. And in this topic, basically we are discussing that how basically the subscription plan is ongoing and how the subscription plan are working. And here we have discussed about one nice topic, that is basically the related to God family. And God family basically says that we are not supposed to get any type of problem. So for that, basically they have created many human clones, and human clone basically only USA and China and UAE people can create. And the expense basically it's more than 200 crore basically. 200 crore dollar might be. So like this basically the human clones are getting created. And we have taken one example also. For example, there is one God family person. He basically is having 15 blood cells, in which basically he is always getting problem. So for that 15 blood cells, basically the special 15, more than 15 human clones basically got created. Human clones means basically you can, the people who know about the human clones, they know basically what actually human clone is. And this basically, this is the basically one of the main income basically you can say of the United States of America, UAE and China. So from software basically you can't earn the money up to the certain level basically, and you can and you basically handling the most healthy basically life. So basically to have this type of life basically, and to have this type of security expenses each and everything basically, so there is only from software basically you can't get this much income. So so from software basically it is not possible to have this much of income basically, right? So this basically is one of the United States of America's income. So here basically we are just discussing about the how the software industries are basically earning the money. And cloning basically happens from the computer only basically, that basically everybody knows chemicals for human cloning creation. So basically you can just imagine the income level basically. And here basically we are discussing that the subscription plan which the government, sorry, the which the government is taking, and each and every state's government is taking. So that basically is connected with this also. And this group basically each and every people knows that this person is basically the from the human, sorry, from the God family. So they have the each and every address also, because the where the person basically is staying, the power supply is getting, that is basically by default from power companies only, right? So power company basically how they are knowing that this person is from God family. So that is basically with the help of the government. So government have each and every person's data, and they have the data, right? So if they have the data, then basically you can just imagine the use of the data. So they are basically not using the wrong way basically, because human clones are created, and how basically human clones are getting used, that also we have discussed in previous videos. So this is basically one of the major income basically you can say. And from this only basically, for example, in India they want to control the 200 crore people. Then 200 crore people basically it's not possible, because few people don't believe in God, right? So assume that few crore people basically are believing in God, and that each and every people control basically they will be having. Why? Because the matrix says that we have taken one example of that each and every God family basically takes each and every person, right? For example, one person is going to the temple, so that God family is knowing that yeah, this person is going to the temple, and this person is visiting the temple. So basically they says yeah, basically we can take this person in his group. So like this basically from his from inside the from his blood group basically his data is, that person's data is going to come. So in advance basically, for example, one God family person basically is having certain level of data. So 100% that data is going to supply to that is connected people only. So that is basically depends upon the, that depends upon the data basically which they, so here basically we have discussed this. So now basically the subscription plan information basically, for example, uh, we have taken one example of 15,000 cities which are telling that we are basically helping India to have the rainfall. So rainfall season basically that is handled by these 15,000 cities. So you can just imagine the technologies are also getting used. So 15,000 cities, if they are handling the season of the India country, that means they are handling the 200 crore people also by default. That is by default, and they are handling the each and every buildings also. They are handling each and every vehicles also. They are handling each and every trees also. They are handling each and every mountains also. For especially for the mountain, basically they might have created a few cities for especially the nature items like trees are there, sands are there. For that, basically, they have, that cities has basically created some special cities. For human, basically, body, they might have created some special cities. For human needs, basically, whatever the human needs, basically, the human is having foods item, clothes are there, petrols are there, oils are there. Each and every human, it's a human needs, right? So this also basically is going to directly going to affect. So for that also basically the cities, special cities are created for creation human needs. For example, assume that Apple is created in the in for example there are around 700 crore Apple in India, right? So 700 crore Apple is in India. That basically 15,000 cities creation person basically he knows why, because he's going to send the rain, he's going to send the rain energy inside this India country, right? He is going to send the data of the, he's creating the data, and then basically the few energies and power companies and nuclear power plant are sending the data, right? So like this, the datas are getting sent to the India country, and then to 700 to 800 crore apples are getting controlled by this 1500 cities basically. So you can just imagine. So this is basically getting control, but the creation which has happened of 700 800 crore apples, that is basically happened from the different cities. So that is different cities, this is different cities, and like this basically there are many. So basically you can just imagine the chaining system also. If one city is getting affected, then by default the another city is going to affect. They have to do the change by default. By for example, there is one Apple's creation city got affected, some changes has happened. Changes has happened when they've told that we are giving more vitamins to the apple. So they told that we will reduce little bit vitamin to that apple, which we are producing from the chemicals from the cities basically. That is basically from cities energy the chemicals gets created, and in city basically human are also staying. So like this the apple is getting created, and when the apple is getting created, the vitamins are basically has passed with too much, and that was not tracked in the quality department also of the apple creation. And this basically will never happen, but we are just taking as an example. um, so like this, the Apple creation cities has changed. So if creation city has changed, then basically the rainy season basically which the data are sending from the 15,000 cities, that is also by default going to change, because the source is changed. If the source is getting changed, then by default the destination is going to change. So here basically the Apple creation is creation place has changed. So by default the rainy season which is maintaining the apples, that is also by default going to change, right? It's by default, right? So by default it's going to change only. So so here basically we are discussing that it's a subscription plan which is taken by the Indian government, and the Indian government is totally dependent on that 15,000 country, right? So it's not like that the 15,000 India's creation contribution is basically given by the one of the nuclear power plant of the India. It's not like that, right? Because India is not handling the World Bank, right? If India is handling the World Bank, then basically they can send the data of the chemical plants, sorry, the building creations, the human needs, which that 15,000 cities is using. So that type of thing, basically, then Indian country's nuclear power plant can basically able to send easily. But that is very risky, right? Because if anything happens to that nuclear power plant, then basically by default India is going to suffer, not going to suffer, but the India country might get lots of trouble. Trouble means very high level trouble, because the source of the each and every 15,000, for example, 15,000 cities is giving the rainy season to the India. If that city is getting, if that nuclear power plant is going to get some problem, then by default, basically the rainy system is going to 100% going to create lots of problem. Lots of means trees are going to fall, mountains are going to crash, and then buildings are going to fall, and humans are going to get disease, and lots of basically things are going to cover with it. And by default, basically the subscription plan which the government has taken, that is basically the by default the subscription plan which has government has taken, that is basically up the upper level, right? That is the base of each and every rating system also, which the rainy system is coming, basically you can say from the um, rain basically which is coming. So you can just imagine basically the rain which is coming, that is the 15,000 cities, right? And that is the base. And the rain which is coming, that is basically coming on the base of the subscription which is government has already taken. So government is telling we have taken this type of subscription. So 100% this type of activities is going to happen, right? Because government has given already money to the World Bank, that so basically to have the rain also, basically you have to give the money. It's not like that the rain is falling automatically and you are having the rain this much, that much. That is basically not happening automatically. The government has to give the money, then only basically the rain will fall, right? Otherwise rain will not fall, and the farmers are going to get in trouble, and then human needs basically by default are going to get trouble. But that is a future plan basically, right? Future basically is going to affect due to if the rain will not fall. And if the rain is falling but but it's not falling according to the data which is existing in the India, then basically by default the disaster is going to happen. That is basically, so that's why basically the exact accurate plan basically should the Indian government have. For that basically required the perfect money also, right? And if government says that if we have the perfect money, then basically we can take 100% subscription plan. Nobody will get disease, nobody will be going to get in trouble. So that basically it's not practically, it's not possible, because lots of departments are also created by the government. So they are telling that they have to take care of that also. So like this basically the each and every sectors are created. So here basically the subscription plan which government is taking, that is taken according to the future plan, right? I have taken one example. Just this is just as a rough example. There is one Pavagad mountain, which was where the lava blast was happened 3,000 years before, right? So I basically asked one of the Bollywood person that this Pavagad mountain basically was created on the base of the lava blast, which was happened 3,000 years before. So when basically next blast is going to happen? So he told that we have the certain level of data, and basically he told that lava blast happens on the base of the population of the data basically. Then basically he was shocked. Basically, what actually he's telling? He told that Pavagad mountain basically is. He told that basically each and every religious basically have God, right? Each and every religious have God. So each and every religious have God. That means they have the God energy also. And the person who believes in God, they basically says that yeah, we basically have the God energy, and God energy is going to save us. So that God energy basically also basically is connecting to the lavas. So human body's energies, which are basically generating, that is also basically used in the lava creation. So lava creation basically, that's basically by default the creation of Earth planet only. That is by default creation of Earth planet. That is basically and each and every lava tunnel basically of this entire world is directly connected. That also basically the each and every small people of the government also knows. So he told that the according to the calculation, the Bollywood person told, according to the calculation of the lava blast which is going to happen in the Vadodara city, that might take 1500 years. That might take 1500 years. That basically calculation he was telling. So he have the certain softwares which was basically giving the data, exact accurate data of the lava blast which is going to happen. But that is going to happen after 1500 years. So for that, basically, the current generation, the next generation, they basically don't have to think, right? Why? Because lava is not going to happen within few years or few days. It is not like that. Why? Because the calculation says that lava generation is not happening suddenly. It's a long process, and long process after long process only the things happens basically. The sand creation happens. So he told that it is going to take 50. For example, I will take one example. I am basically divorced. Assume that my marriage happened and I got one child and one girl and one boy. So this is basically first generation, right? Right. The boy and girl, which is going to happen, that is basically first generation. So like that, 15 generation of that particular boy and girl is going to happen, right? So that is basically it's going to take 1500 years. So assume that we are going to stay for 100 years. So assume that it's 16 years. Sorry, 16 generation, 16 to 17 generation. So you can just imagine the 16 to 17 generation, 15 to 16 generation is going to stay. After that, the things is going to happen. So that was basically the calculation of the Bollywood person. Basically, he told that we have to create the energy of the cities. We basically sometimes helps the government to give the subscription plan data because we know the practical things of the each and every city, and we are staying in Mumbai, so we know basically each and everything basically. So we are basically into the Mumbai city, and we know the Mumbai city where the Mumbai city is having problem, which, for example, they told that basically we don't want this tree in Mumbai city, this generation tree. So basically, the government told that what was the reason? Basically, they told that basically the blood cells which is getting created, and that is basically creating some negative energy, and negative energy is basically affecting lots of Mumbai's uh, Mumbai's building structure also. So basically, he told that from human body energy, how buildings are affecting. So he told that yeah, basically that is a long process that we will discuss later on. He told that Bollywood person told that. So he told that we don't want this tree generation. So he told that okay, that's okay. We will not send the data of this to the governments or to the subscription plan people. So like this, the trees are going to fall. So like that, the government given the advisory to their people, their government people, connected people, that this all the trees are going to fall. So the people who are not aware, they basically by default are going to suffer. The by default they are going to suffer. Why? Because they don't have the information that this tree subscription data is not passed to the subscription plan creation groups. That is basically to World Bank. So like this, the subscription plan data was not passed of that particular tree. So by default, that tree is going to suffer. So you can just imagine the uh, each and every object in we are taking example of the Vadodara and Mumbai. So each and every object which is existing in the city, that data basically the rainy system is having. They are already is having basically the 15,000 city is already created. So they have the each and every data of Vadodara and Mumbai city. According to that only they created that 15,000 cities. So you can just imagine the um uh, data basically. That this basically comes into the data science project also basically you can say. The data science project basically you can say. The data science project which is the software industry basically. So data basically by default the software industry might not be having data by default the software industry might not be having. For that basically you have to do lots of hard work. So people are telling that we are a software industry person, so we are not doing the hard work. So basically, to collect each and every single data, we have to go to the physical place only, right? Otherwise, basically, there is no technology in this world. Basically, for you scan the one software in the city, basically from the laptop, and they will say that this many trees exist in this city, this many buildings exist in this city, this many humans exist in this city, this many waters are basically existing in the city, this many sand exists in the city. So that type of basically software might be there, but it's a satellite level software. That basically the human basically can't get the access because it's a very critical, right? Because if you are having the access of that particular objects, if you are having the objects of the particular building, then basically you are having the access of the entire human basically staying in the building, right? And basically government, I don't think basically they will give any access to the any building. uh, so government, I don't think they will give any access, but by default if they say that we have given by default access, then basically I assume that that person basically some person basically got some disease, his head got damaged, his teeth got damaged, then basically the government will be responsible, right? For that basically who is going to ask government? That is basically the question, right? Because subscription plan basically people they are telling that we have passed the data whatever you basically required, right? We have passed the data whatever it's required. So then basically it's your basically responsibility to use the data as per you. You have the nuclear power plant, you have the power company, you have the energy company. So according to that basically you just use. So like this basically the subscription plan, that is basically the 15,000. Here basically we are talking about the rainy season, and here basically we have discussed that 15,000 cities basically, 15,000 cities is having is basically generating the rainy system. Sorry, rainy season. So the 15,000 city basically is having the each and every object of the India country. So you can just imagine they have the basically the data of the each and every temple, each and every human, how many humans are basically staying and which type of blood cells they are having. So you can just imagine the data structure basically which this 15,000 people, sorry, 15,000 cities is having. So, but because they are going to send the rain, they are going to by default going to send the rain. They are by default going to send the rain to the nuclear power plant. They are not sending the data to the satellites, and satellites groups are not going to filter to the data. So that type of system is not happening. So like this, the 15,000 cities are telling that you have sorry, the 15,000 cities groups connected with the subscription plan group, that is basically the World Bank. They told that you have given the requirement of this type of data. So this type of data means they want in Mumbai city they don't want this type of trees, they don't want this type of buildings. So that basically the government is telling that we have already informed the people that this is going to get destroyed and this is going to destroy, because that is telling, they are telling that they are affecting the Mumbai energy. So like this basically the systems are getting created, and in this basically it's not like that the government is not knowing. Without government approval nothing happens. For example, if one, for example, I want to go to Singapore, right? So without government I can go to the Singapore, because without government you can't get the visiting visa of the Singapore also. Then basically how you can get the PR, how basically I can get the permanent residence of the Singapore, or the Singapore pass, working pass. So that is not possible, right? Even the basically Singapore government says that yeah, basically you can come to the Singapore. You have your friends here. You can come directly to the Singapore. There is no issue. Then basically but they will say that no, basically your government should able to say that yeah, basically he can go to the Singapore. He can move to the Singapore. You can earn a lots of money. Yeah, you can earn a lots of money. You can earn a money in dollar. You can earn a money in Singapore dollar. So like this, basically the government is supposed to say, right? So government basically will say that if we will issue the Singapore pass, then what is the profit of us basically? Then basically they will have the profit and loss. Like this, basically the each and every government basically whoever issues the visas of the particular person, they do the creates the balance sheet basically. What is going to profit going to happen to from this person, and what basically benefit we are going to get, and then basically the balance sheet gets created, and according to the balance sheet basically of the profit and loss which government is going to happen, if he will go to the he will visit the Singapore, then according to that basically they gets the visa, right? So visa system is basically it's like a balance sheet. It's like a balance sheet, right? The visa system which is getting created, that is basically like a balance sheet only. You can say that it's a balance sheet, right? You can say it's a balance sheet. Yeah, basically by default it's a balance sheet, right? You are not getting visa, you are getting visa, that basically connected about the balance sheets which you have created in this country. So like this, basically this is about the visa basically. So here basically we are not discussing that. I have just taken as an example basically of the up to what level the government can go. So up to what level the government have the power. So basically here basically we told that the subscription, that is basically 15,000 cities, that is basically the 15,000 cities which is going to have a rainy system basically, which is getting created for the India country, that is basically the 200 crore people. 200 crore people basically is having the rainy system, is having the rain. So that basically has a subscription plan, right? The subscription plan basically, that is basically the money they have already given to the World Bank, that basically we want this type of rainy system. And without rain basically you can't survive also, because that is going to by default going to affect the future basically plans. 100% they are going to affect the future plans. Why? Because buildings basically are reason basically I will tell you. Nowadays the software industry has created each and every human needs from the city creation, right? They have created the human needs from the city's creation. So that city is what basically city exists. City contains what? Human contains, buildings contains, road contains, sand contains, tree contains. So each and every data are going to by default going to get processed. So that requires updation also. So that the rain system basically is doing the updation. So what updation the software industry is doing, that basically we will be going to discuss after some time, after from some videos. So what updation the rainy system basically do, what updation the software industry sends to the government, that we want this type of updation. So that basically those people only can give the updation who actually know the human creation is happening from the cities. The human creation, that is basically the human needs are getting created from the cities energies. So assume that here basically the Apple creation is happening. So Apple creation is happening from the 100 cities, right? Just taking as an example, don't go to number side. So 100 cities creating the Apple. So Apple told that Apple doctors basically they told that basically this Apple required some changes. This Apple required some changes according to the climate change which has happened, because the city basically which was created, They basically suddenly created lots of buildings. So due to that, basically the Apple energy got affected. Apple energy got affected. So for that, basically we need some certain level of updation. So that basically updation, one of the example is this basically. The rainy system basically can do the updation. So basically a few buildings are already created for the Apple. For changes, basically they are not going to finish that entire building and going to create new building. It's not possible, right? Practically it's not possible. So for that, basically the rainy system, basically rainy season has created. And in the rainy season, basically the season basically is going to update the Apple data. So one of the example of the updation basically, that is this. Like this, basically there are many examples. So that basically we will discuss later on. So this is basically the subscription plan basically, which government is selling that we have already um, given the contract to that 15,000 cities. So for India, basically that 15,000 cities are for created for the rating system. So like this, basically the government is moving to that country, government people are moving to that company. There might be some reason, right? So this also basically is the one of the reason why the government people basically that are they are moving to the cities to cities, sorry, countries to countries, because this 15,000 cities is not created in one of the one or two countries. It might be in 90, 100 countries. So in one country, basically entire 15,000 cities can't be created. It's practically not possible, because if anything happens to that country, then basically the entire rainy system is going to affect. So that's why basically the fully dependency does not get creation, does not get into the architecture of the creation. So there the creation is supposed to be like that. The 100 countries basically is having this 15,000 cities, and there are basically negative and positive both side. If you are creating 100 cities, sorry, the 15,000 cities in 100 countries, then basically you can't break the relationship with that 100 countries also. You have to keep relationship with the each and every country. So that relation basically directly the government don't maintain. The people basically who are staying in that country, they are basically getting to going to maintain, right? Because they are staying there, government are not staying there. So the people basically who are staying there in the 100 countries of the Indian government sent the people to that 100 countries. They are basically maintaining the relationship, and according to that, that country is going to give the behavior of the rainy season, right? According to the behavior of that particular people which government has sent to that 100 countries, according to that behavior, the 15,000 city is going to behave, right? It's by default, basically it's the human nature basically. But the uh, professional word says that that's not basically your concern how basically they are behaving. We are basically giving you the money, so according to that, basically you have to behave with us. So because the professionalism says that we have given you the 15,000 cities rainy season money, so you have to behave like this. But sometimes basically money also does not work, so that type of time also basically comes. So like this, the 15,000 cities which is specially created for the um, rainy season system creation, and rainy system season creation is happened from the 15,000 cities which is existing in the 100 countries, and 100 countries relationship basically with the India is perfectly fine. And here basically how World Bank basically keeps keep information basically. The normal basically sometime basically government also don't know that these 15,000 cities are basically using for the rainy systems rainy season in India country. So you can just imagine the critical level, because it might possible that due to some people the relationship with the government has got broken. So that for that basically if the particular people are knowing that This buildings are this set of cities are basically getting used for the rainy season in India. Then basically they are going to by default going to damage lots of things. So that's why basically sometimes World Bank basically don't disclose the um, information also, that this basically city, that is basically 15,000 cities which is used for the rainy season, for the rainy season system basically use. And so sometimes basically government also does not disclose the 15,000 cities. Sorry, the World Bank also does not disclose the 15,000 cities information. So this is basically 150 to 182 number part. In 183, basically we are going to discuss little bit more about the rainy system that is basically created from that 15,000 cities, and that 15,000 city basically is existing in 100 countries and which is controlled by the World Bank.